Alrighty, we are back, and we got Steve back on the show. Took a little weekly hiatus there last episode, so
Yeah, sorry about that,
nice
but
to have you back.
yeah, I was in Texas. My buddy was retiring from the Navy after 22 years of service, so it was fun. We got to see the third coast because it was down in Corpus Christi.
Nice. How was
Pretty
it?
interesting. It was cool. Didn't really have good barbecue, but good like Gulf shrimp. That was cool. That was a highlight. Very windy down there, and the Gulf is when you finally get out there, it's pretty cool. I mean, you can drive your cars on the beach and stuff like that. It's Texas; they don't care. It's straight freedom down there. But yeah, it was definitely fun. But I
Nice.
am curious to see about our shorts that we've been. Oh no way! Okay, cool. So this is interesting.
Let me
Um,
plug in here.
Here, I'll share the screen here. So you remember we had the I don't even want to say the name now because I feel like we're going to get flagged. Let's just say a certain a political short about a certain campaign doing things on Google that were, maybe a little questionable, and it generated like 400 views. I pulled it the other day because it was right after this short. I pulled it yesterday or the day before, and we had like 0 views of any of our shorts after we posted that. And I probably had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they had 0 views. Thinking maybe we got like shadow banned or something from posting shorts. And I think that's true because I did post a couple other ones. They did get a view or two, but look at this latest one that we just posted.
521.
Um, 521. Oh boy, I don't want to hear myself talk. Um, wait, yeah, that has got the highest views that we've had so far on a short. So maybe there was some shadow banding going on, but we didn't know about it. So, yeah, that's really interesting.
That's
Um,
incredible.
Let me just look at the shorts real quick. Oh, it's the wrong. Oh boy, that's my personal one. Let's switch this one. Switch accounts. There we go. Let's see. Let's go to videos real quick here. Content. And then shorts. So I'll show you the shadow band. Oh, let's see. Oh, sorry, shorts. The shadow band one was right. I'm telling you, it was right here. This one. And then nothing happened for a while. And then I started publishing these the other day. And this one published today, and it picked up quite well. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with this moving forward. But I think there is some validity to our hypothesis that certain sensitive topics could put you in a penalty box. And I just unlisted it, and then we're getting back to views. So
That's amazing. It's really
can't
not, but it's interesting to see.
can't poke the bear, man. Like, dude, could you imagine if you're a YouTuber and it's like this is your lifeblood of like money, and it's like, of course you're gonna have to, if this is how your only revenue stream is gonna come in,
No doubt.
you're
Plus, you're
gonna
just
have to bend your will to the evil forces of of the big tech companies. Yeah.
you're and you're gonna have to kind of figure out how to navigate that. So not
Yeah, I
ideal.
wonder if
That's
we
very
do get some
unfortunate.
throttling on some of our. I mean, we don't get a lot of views on YouTube for our podcast, but I wonder if some of our reach is diminished because we're talking about certain topics um, on different posts. So,
Could totally see that.
oh boy, we have to cater to the algorithms that are so sensitive. Oh
uh,
boy. Anywho, so yeah, we got a shorter episode today. Just kind of pinched up on time. We were going through some once in a while. Me and Trevor will collaborate on some client experiences that we need to walk through and just try to game plan. And I think it is definitely nice to draw from each other's experience in those scenarios with clients. We're always trying to do the right thing, but it's like, okay, what happened? How do we break it down? What's the conversation that we're going to have with the client? I do find it always helpful to have that kind of
super
resource.
helpful.
You know, at an independent agency, maybe you have some other people that you're going to talk to. That I don't know. I think maybe if you talk like internally, that's going to be a bit biased, right? They're always going to want to have a certain perspective
No
of it
doubt.
all. and I don't know. I just remember being in an agency. It's like it would be always very defensive, especially if it was like on the client side, or the sales guy would get really upset on certain items. But it's like maybe there is some validity to, I don't know, maybe starting a community that our scenarios does happen like this, that we can jump on a call real quick and just like, hey, walk through it. What happened? Okay, here's based on my experience what we've seen, and here's how I might approach it. That could be an interesting kind of collaborative nature
It would be
of
cool to
things.
like build a little community here, and have something like that in place. I don't know, like if we're at that point. I mean, who cares how large it is? If anybody wants to, chat or whatever, we could always figure out like a Slack channel or
Yeah, just
or
create a
something like
Slack
that.
channel, right? I wonder if
Yeah.
people would be open to that because, sharing news stories or something like that, it's like a passive channel, or like, hey, I've got a tough, yeah, I don't know, free for now, but maybe there's a model for it all. Or maybe there's not even a model that you pay that way. It's more of like, hey, I got a business opportunity or this or that. And it's like I don't know, something a little bit more private, like a LinkedIn private group or something like that, but it's like a Slack channel.
I was gonna say, I think I kind of like that idea of like a Slack channel where it's more problem based and people helping one another out with situations, and then passing business along to one another, and using that network. Because I think prior to like this podcast and stuff, like I definitely have some people that I lean on, but there's definitely some, especially in a remote world where you kind of feel like you're a bit of an island here, where you like just don't
Yeah.
have a ton of collaboration. And to your point, internally, like with your internal teams, you I don't know, you might hold back a little bit or not be like as honest or get as direct of feedback as you'd like there, and
Sure.
or maybe you just don't feel like comfortable talking about certain scenarios, and you would like to have like an outside force or like a third party. Like I think there's definitely something to that, because like the session we just had there, like I feel so much better um, about this particular scenario here, and yeah, I think there's definitely something to that.
I mean, yeah, we could always, like, if it's a Slack channel, right? You could always, hey guys, anybody can jump on and have a conversation real quick, whoever's available, especially if there's a lot more people on that can discuss it, and just help out, because I guess at some point in time you're going to need help as well. Or if, maybe that is something we do look at
Why don't we
doing,
do the
because
collective Slack channel?
I'm okay with that. I think that would be really cool because I think to your point, like, right, man, like we are so remote now that it does feel like you're on your island, but at the same time, because we are so remote and we have technology, though, there's no reason to feel like you're on an island. We just have to create that community that can be there. Um, I could think of a handful of people that's like, hey, this is just a general support, share some news stories, um, community. Because I think LinkedIn, it gets a little bit washed out. You can't see it. Um,
And again, even there too, like LinkedIn, like you're not gonna your comments are going to be like more dialed and more professional, and
for
not, you know what I
sure.
mean? Like you're not going to be like shit posting like you would in Slack. Not saying like that's the point, but like more candid, like tell me what you really think feedback in Slack. That's a bit more private compared to, you posting some nonsense in a comment trying to be like, it's just different. It's just like a whole different experience. I think we should definitely start a Slack channel, be like digital marketing, SEO paid, client issues or campaign issues or ideations, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe some industry update stuff there. Like, man,
No
I
selling
think we,
shit to anybody. Like, that's
yeah.
the whole thing. You can't be selling stuff. We'll see that right through it. Um,
I
yeah, I
got
think
a
there's
I got a
maybe some
message
ground
this
rules.
morning on LinkedIn. Some person like trying to sell me their services for like copywriting with their resume, and then send me the same exact message like 5 hours later. Like, so like that stuff is not
Whoops.
going to be accepted in the Slack channel of like, hey, I'm this content writer, hire me for your, like, nah, dude.
Yeah, even
Like
the
we're trying to
individual
help
that
one another
you
out.
had on last weekend, I forget his name. Sorry.
Leon,
Yeah, Leon. He'd be a great addition to a channel like that if you
100%.
join. Participate when you want, or don't, or just mute the damn channel if it's
All
not
right, let's do
valuable.
it. Why don't we do that? Seriously, let's create a little Slack channel, and then we can make like a little LinkedIn post. I'll make a post. You can make a post and be like, hey, if
Yeah,
anybody serious about this, you're whatever, you're in paid, you're an SEO, you're a freelancer, an agency owner, whatever. If you're looking for like a community to support you for any updates to the
I
industry,
think.
challenges, whatever, that's what it's
Yeah,
about.
we have that whole pitch of like being on an island, being remote, but you don't have to be. Or even if you're at an agency and you are working in person, because that's required these days, and a scenario comes up and you want a different opinion than what your bosses or colleagues, you'd have an option potentially,
Exactly.
right? Um, that could be helpful. Or like, yeah, I can see like software that comes up, like, that whole, what is it, the R2 rb2b.com, that service.
RB2B.
It's like, oh, is that actually working for anybody? Has anybody used it? It's like, what are you seeing? Mixed results, not. I think there could be some. I would like to provide software links out there, as long as there's no skin in the game. I think that would be my, um, no alternative motives. You know, um,
All right, well, let's do it, and then we could even like clip this as a like a little promotion post, like of just a first half of what we just spoke through to kind of give an overview there. I think that's what we do. Let's create a little Slack channel.
sweet. All right, Slack channel coming up.
And we will, I don't know. We'll figure out like the distribution piece of that. But yeah, I think we just reach out to some folks and get some people in there and then yeah, see what it comes of it. We'll name it the collective Slack channel there.
Yeah, I think that's super fair and valid. And yeah, I've got a couple people I can think of already that might want to join. But it is a place to help provide support, and I think a lot of it is that client communication or scenarios,
Totally.
and just drawing off each other's experiences, because that's really what it's about.
I did want to ask, if you, Steve, as an agency owner here, doing some keyword bidding and keyword
Mm.
testing here for some client acquisition. I don't know if you want to just maybe give a little preview of like what this test is and initial like thoughts and results here, and just give
Yeah,
kind
I
of an
think I could
overview.
speak in generalities just for right now, because I'm trying to see if this niche we can get into is valid. So I guess so. A first assessment is, um, we are doing SEO for it. So that's one thing, which we'll see where that turns into over time. But let's see if we can get some leads. And now we're looking to do, or we started to do paid ads. Now, when I first looked at the scenario of let's do paid ads, of course I looked at Google. It's going to have the search volume. But the cost per click for these keywords were extremely high. We're talking like $20, $30. So I was like, yeah, that kind of sucks. Then the idea popped up in my head. Well, let's see what Bing has to offer. It can be cheaper, and it is in the B2B space. So maybe that market for Bing could work. So Bing, the cost per clicks were dramatically cheaper, and they are starting to come in, and they're under like $2, which is encouraging to see.
Nice.
Um, and so, but it's very, very specific kind of B2B niche for the service offering itself. And, I went in there with maybe, what did I have? Like 6 keywords that I set up for exact and then phrase. I feel pretty confident that the exact keywords should bring in the impressions that we're looking for and possibly clicks. But what I was seeing is that the phrase match keywords, based on the query, what can happen is that this query could be associated with someone using that query and then appending like a brand name to it. I know I would love to give specifics, but if that makes sense, I mean, if I'm trying to articulate the kind of problem that we're having here is that the core main search term is a service, but sometimes people append it with a brand name. And so that phrase match kind of went apeshit on me real quick, where like a bunch of impressions came through, but it's not the right client that we're looking for.
Were you getting clicks on those queries too?
Yes, yes, that's the problem. It's like, I don't mind the impressions, but the clicks is where it costs me money.
Read ads, folks. Read what you're clicking
So,
on. Give it a
and I
second and read
and I
about it.
think like the ad copy is pretty strong, identifying what we do is it's a service for this niche. But I did put a bunch of site links out that could get confusing to that individual person coming through, where they're not reading ads. But yeah, dude, people don't fucking read ads. Like, I
No.
guarantee, like, you almost need to like skip that in your mindset of ads are just the mechanism for someone to come in. But like the search query to landing page is really what you need to focus on. And so if there's a disconnect that happens, you're going to get the wrong traffic that comes in. So it's like, God damn it. Like, these clicks are costing me a couple bucks, spent the budget for the day. And I was like, okay, I need to kill some of these phrase match keywords, tighten up on the exact match, and have a stronger negative keyword list. So we'll see what comes from it. But these are like the small nuances of like launching a campaign that experts like you, Trevor, on the pay me side is required. There are so many trips that
It's
you can
unbelievable.
landmines, like all these setting features. Like I'm pretty good at like setting up campaigns and seeing things, but I'm not an like expert. I had you look at the campaign and you showed me like probably like 15 things I should consider of like modifying in there.
It's like endless.
It's kind of baffling. Like Bing does this, Google does this, Meta does this. There's all these little landmines, and what is the objective to these landmines though? It's always to spend more money. That's it. Like it's pretty freaking wild.
There's like no
Um,
default settings in the account literally that I could think of that are on your behalf. Like you're going to create a campaign, immediately going to default to targeting of people who show interest in your location. So you can immediately get international traffic when you don't want it. Like I could name 25 things off the top of my head where default settings will screw you. And it's crazy because you would think those platforms want to set you up for success. And they like kind of do, but like they really kind of don't at the same time. It's more about like just getting that spend in there.
yeah. So on this specific campaign, we had talked about this is very B2B. Let's do desktop only traffic.
Love
Even
that
to set that
call.
up, it's a little weird how to set that up. You have to do like I need to decrease my bids for these other platforms to be 100% negative. Like, how can there be just an option of like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do
Off.
that. Just like
Yep.
take off. But could you imagine on this campaign if I had mobile turned on and I let it
Oh my
run for a
God.
couple of days as I'm collecting data? Dude, I'd have such like I paid for shitty data. It got data, but it's not the traffic I want. Like, so it's like you almost have to watch these campaigns like a hawk as they jump out because you're gonna not. I don't know. You're gonna discover some new things that happen, but that initial account setup, like you're talking about, that's why you need a paid media expert. It's literally what they're paying us for. We're like a configuration expert for these
Pretty much.
platforms. That's
Yeah.
it.
I'm going to save you money. Yeah.
Save you money, find the efficiencies. Like we've talked about, especially now with Google, and I'm sure this is for Bing too, about we talked about this before about having like one metric to optimize towards, not multiple. It's like people don't typically know that. And these accounts just get it's so easy. It's like fragile. It's like a I don't know, man. Give me something like it's a newborn baby that just came out. There's so many little things that you could screw up. That's how these paid search campaigns are specifically. In any campaign, that there's like one little thing you could do, and all of a sudden it's like it wraps up the spin. It's the wrong thing, and it's like it's because they made it so complex and overcomplicated. So it's so confusing to do so. It's like they made it. Why can't they just make it simple? Like I just want to go for this one keyword. Just give me that keyword with the right intent.
I know. I know. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I
And I would say to Bing ads though, like on the search side, if you ever look at Bing and how they display their search ads, you can barely tell that they're ads. There's one little bubble that says
That's so
ad,
true. Yeah.
and they have placements of ads in the middle of organic results.
Yep.
So it's like even a platform you have to really, really scrutinize on your keyword sets, etc., because you could just get into a bunch of irrelevant searches, and if people aren't clicking on it, you know, or if they are clicking on it, you're going to get that paid traffic. And I have seen too, even some of these exact match keywords. Why can't they just be exact and not close variants? Like I've seen some of these examples when I'm looking at the search term reports. A lot of times people don't even look at search term reports. Like these search term reports, like literally. So like I'll give you an example of today. The keyword group. Jesus, this is insane. Um, it's like three phrases, very very specific. The exact match. This was an exact match for it all. They added in like a different website address and excluded one of the keywords I'm bidding on in that exact match term. Like that's not even close. So did they ever give a good reason why they won't do like exact the Google and Bing like the exact match keywords in this close variant shit? Did they give a
No,
valid reason?
I don't think they ever gave a valid reason. No, not that I could think of. I think
It's a fucking
everybody in the
scam.
industry. I think everybody in the industry was just always. I mean, this we're talking back to like 2013, 2014, like 2015. Like the whole push has always been trying to like automate the account to eventually like take it away from like agencies. Um, so things were just going to get completely automated out. And there's like these little tweaks that happened over time. Like you can't do enhanced CPC bidding is one thing that went away recently, and people are now saying like manual bidding is eventually going to go away, and you're going to have to be using smart bidding. But updating the match types or like the match preference on exact, I don't know what Google's reasoning was. I think it was probably like, hey, it's better. It'll help condense your account structure so you don't have to bid on all these different variations. It's theme aware. We'll go out and find some relevant queries for you. It'll give you some extra like gap coverage, but I don't know. It's all kind of nonsense because at the end of the day, it's for spending more money and it's not an exact keyword.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
it's
here's
like
a good
you already had coverage with broad and phrase with different variations of the keyword. So like that, I don't really know what a good narrative would be for making exact match theme aware and a little bit more like liberal with what it matches to.
Yeah, and maybe I'm being just too anal about like specifically search campaigns, but it would scare me to like do a PMAX campaign for this based on what I'm
No
seeing.
doubt.
Like, whoa. Like, there's too many things I see manually that are going off the rail, and what signals are you going to optimize towards? Like, I don't think they're going to find the keywords. Like, I'm going to have to get them there to find it. Like, here's a good example of like this close variant. As part of the keyword, one of the keywords that I'm bidding on, it's got a couple appended before. So it's like niche website, right? Well, I'm getting a valid, or they think it's a valid impression or click for niche industry I'm going after instead of website, page. So they think page and website are the same thing. There's very different intent in the niche that I'm going after, where page is like something specifically they're looking for a company, potentially, where a website is more of the general services of it all, like the
Yes.
for it all. So it's like, just because you think you know that a website and a page, they're the same thing. Not in the intent of the search. And they don't get that. It's like, I don't think they really look at this from this variant standpoint of the intent of the phrase and how the words terminology. Because I would agree, like page and website are pretty similar if we're just looking at it with no context or no intent. But if you look at the intent, especially in the search terms, they're drastically different.
No
And
doubt.
even plural to non-plural. That's something that I think might be an issue in this campaign too. I do have plural and non-plural keywords. Actually, what's your experience around plural and non-plural keywords?
They would say it's like irrelevant, like whether it's plural or it's not,
Fuck.
because like it's theme aware. It'll figure it out. So if you're bidding on the word like uh, sneaker and somebody searches sneakers, they would say, like it's theme aware. It'll pick up both those. So just bid on one of the keywords and not both.
Yeah, I think in some scenarios a plural does make there's context behind it.
But
Um,
to your point, it could change the meaning. So like,
yeah, okay, I guess like website versus websites.
totally
If you're
different
looking for like a
context.
website, you're looking for something specific, probably. Where website could be more of a general service in the context of this scenario. So
That's where I think you would have to kind of think like, okay, website versus websites. What's like the long tail keyword going to be there to give like a couple other modifiers to like get you to the intent behind that. But dude, like there's
yeah,
always going to be. I think that's the thing that's really tough, and I think maybe a good learning lesson if you're like launching search campaigns is like that negative keyword list is actually critical and needs to be dialed. And but there's always going to be slippage and there's always going to be spend on nonsense that pulls through, and it's super
why?
frustrating.
That's the crazy part. Like, I would love to be able
Why
to
does
have
it
like a
have to be like that?
why exactly? Can I have a grace period of like, or maybe like a credit system? Like, hey, these keywords I deemed are not relevant. The click that I have, and I could have a legitimate reason why, and I could share that story. Like, it's a request, but I tag all these clicks that I got that are not because it's got log in it or it's got some other brand name in it. That's not the intent of this campaign, clearly, but you showed it because of the way the algorithm works. That's great. Now I have that negative keyword I can add on my list. And maybe that's one of the stipulations. Maybe to get this credit, you have to add the keyword modifier as a negative. You submit it to Google or Bing, and then they can give you a credit back on that. So you're willing to spend more or, spend on worthy traffic. I guess that's the frustration I have.
Couldn't agree more. But their incentive is to grow that revenue there, so it's kind of like tough to get them to shift the model towards like a bit more like efficiency and results, which I think at the end of the day is going to end up screwing Google long term here because I think a lot of people are getting upset with that. Um, yeah, it's like it's such a catch 22 there and so tough, and like you also got to think if you didn't know any of these settings and you're a business owner, you set up some campaigns, you could easily spend a couple $1,000 in a month and literally have nothing quality pull through, and that's like completely possible.
That's what
Like,
scared me when I looked at the account. We launched it, and I looked at it an hour later. I'm like, I got 4 or 5 clicks already, and like 70 impressions. I'm like, something's wrong.
yeah,
Like,
like
it's
there's
horrible that it has to be that way.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh, that should be great news. Like, you're getting relevant traffic. It was like, nope. And it's not necessarily like the account setup. It's all there. It's like these subtle nuances that if you just let it run for a week because you're collecting data, you're just going to collect crap data. So you have to like watch it
100%.
like a hawk, and things are going to pop up. And I do think though it is for very specific B2B, probably mostly because of the way the search intents are on keywords.
Yep.
That's where the challenge is. If you're fucking selling sneakers, it's pretty fucking straightforward, right? That's not that big of a deal. I'm not as concerned. Or you're a local service provider for certain things, not a big deal. So I guess now that I'm kind of thinking this through, most of these challenging of scenarios when it comes to these keyword setups has been B2B. Would you agree?
For sure. Yeah, much more complicated.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
almost something now like when I'm going to be working more with B2B clients, it's going to be a big caveat to campaign setups, campaign expectations regarding this because it's there's just so many things that you have to be aware of.
and I think a couple good like takeaways and learning lessons here on search campaign side of things, launching new campaigns or management. Off the start of campaigns, adding negative keywords to your campaign is so critical. I know so many people that launch campaigns and just wait till search queries start pulling through and then adding negatives. And that's fine. But I think off the start, do some keyword research to inform the negative keyword list during your launch to avoid a bunch of junk off the start and a bunch of wasted spend. But then I also think, too, we kind of spoke about, some of these irrelevant search queries, people still clicking on your ads. I've seen so many times Google and just agency people say it's 40% landing page, it's 40% ad copy, it's 20% keyword selection. I would actually really disagree with that. I think landing page is like 70, 80% of the name of the game. Keywords probably second, and then ad copy. And I think it's so easy to kind of like be a little artsy and be like, oh, well, we could have all of these value props and be extremely differentiated from our competition and have these sick offers. Social, no doubt. But when it comes to search, people don't read shit and are quickly just searching and clicking links to see if they have the information or not. So it's almost more important to think about like the little targeting nuances of like desktop and negating mobile and targeting audiences and that type of thing. And then the landing page is like bread and butter, has to have the information that user's looking for, because that copy,
Dude, I
dude,
would
nobody's reading it
argue,
on the search results page. It's just a
dude,
fact.
I'm 100%. I would argue like ads are 5% of that whole model.
So it's
I
almost
really would
like
say. I would
landing
say it's
page, the
probably like,
vast majority, and then kind of like keyword/settings, and then ad copies. I mean, like we're saying,
I would say keyword intent is like the biggest. I would literally put 70% on keyword intent. Like, are you getting the right keyword impressions that you want to have? If you do that, your ad is probably going to have a variable that's like, hey, dynamic insertion of keyword. So it's like it covers your ad copy, right? The click on
true,
the damn
true.
ad, right? So that's like the 5%. And then they get to the landing page, just fucking hope that it talks about the keyword, right? So that's like another, I would probably do like 70 ads are zero and 30% is the landing page. Some sort of ratio in that sense.
I
I
agree.
do have a question for you though. I guess specifically in Bing, I haven't really talked to you about this, but in Bing, maybe this is for Google too. When you add negative keywords in, you can do a list, obviously, but there are different negative keywords match types.
Oh my god, this is a rabbit
Phrase.
hole.
and exact. How would let's say if I had the keyword of phrase of login, that would be like anytime login's mentioned either way across it, or but if it's exact, like I don't get that. How's that work if it's a one word phrase? You know what?
See,
I guess maybe I answer my own question there, where like a lot of times the negative keywords I put in there are like single keywords because I know they disqualify the whole thing if it's included in the query, like login, right? So I should do it on phrase. So if it's an anywhere part in there, that's cool. I guess that answers the question, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so then on exact is like more of a phrase that you're putting in that you don't want to be bid on, and it's specifically that phrase.
Exactly.
You kind of do an exact. Okay.
Yes.
Because
So
it would be pointless to do an exact match of login because the only keyword you're negating is login.
well, you all see. So this is where it gets tough. Is negative keyword match type. I believe is theme aware as well. So then you kind of got to think through some of those scenarios there of like, should I add that as an exact match, and will that actually take away some quality? You know, versus maybe I should just be a little bit like, maybe I should just take a piece of that query and add that like specific term as phrase match just to give me coverage here. Because say you're like, what would be like a good example of this? I'm trying to think of a good example of this, but like you could in theory have like all right, here's a good one. Like customer, like I don't know, customer experience software. If you see like customer experience login, if you negate customer experience login as an exact match, you actually might be negating customer experience software traffic because of that theme awareness. So in that scenario, I would probably think about like the login piece as an exact match just to be a little bit safer. So you kind of got to think through that component a little bit too of like not being too tight with your exact match negatives to actually negate some quality traffic from pulling through.
Interesting.
So it's like a whole rabbit hole of like, dude, should I put this
So
as
like
a
I have like
phrase, exact,
login
and
as
how
one
do
of my
I?
negative keywords as phrase. That should kick anything out with login in it, which
You're good
would
there.
make sense.
Yes.
But then I also have some interesting ones in your LC. Like I think a good example is like one of my keywords that I'm going after has the term websites in it because we're trying to build like a certain type of niche website. But I have a negative keyword in here on phrase of web page. Could Google or could
I don't
Bing
see. That's the
think
one
web
I'm
page
like, I don't
website
know.
as the same thing and it's going to negate it? I guess I have to wait till the search term report comes out, and if I don't have the right traffic coming in, or it just kills the campaign,
And then remove it.
and then remove it. Oh boy,
It's such a game of testing and iterating and thinking through those types of scenarios.
this wouldn't be an issue if we could just bid on exact match keywords, though.
I
Like
know.
truly exact match keywords. Like, come on, man. And it's honestly what these changes are not in our advantage for our advantage for
No.
our clients, for our customers. It's only for the fucking platforms to make more money because they're mistakes. They're not necessarily mistakes. It's like configuration. What's it called? Like it's like the cost to play, like an efficiency cost or something that comes along with this. Like every campaign, you should probably put away like, I don't know, 20% of your budget because you know that it's going to have to go through these efficiency changes that you have to fucking pay for.
I think that's a good framing there and a good like expectation.
I want that credit back though. Like, give me a valid reason. Like, hey, these are bad, shitty keywords. I'll put them in my negative list, so I don't want them. So you know, I'm not trying to go after them. I'm not trying to scheme you, Google or Bing. And then give me that 20% back because I'm going to stick around longer. Like, for real, if we could get a refund or a credit on that.
I've definitely been in situations where Google will give you like they'll call it like a make good, and that definitely happens. But like when you're going to point out some like, hey, these are some irrelevant queries, that's like tough. I don't know. It's got to be a little bit more like egregious account stuff that'll get you.
So I think a very simple starting point on this, and maybe we could talk to Bing and Google about this, is that, you know, like when you're in your search term report and you can just click on a keyword and say negate.
Yes. Yep.
If there's been any clicks that has happened on that keyword, you get a refund.
I think that's like
you'll never be able to bid on that keyword again.
I think that's super
unless
fair.
an account review happens. That's fucking dope. Like, hey, here's some efficiency spending I'm going through.
Yep.
It's not like it cost Google or Bing more money or more like internal cost to give that refund back on a click that came through. You know, it's not like they have to go back and do anything more efficiently. You know, it's just more of a land grab. Like that would be a way better user experience. Sure, if I got to go into my negative keyword list and put a theme in there of like login on phrase, sure, get it, no big deal. But let me go through my negative search keyword report and flag all the fucking keywords that are not valid, that came through that are bullshit, and give me a credit back to my account. That is what we should do. That's my great idea for 2024.
Would love that. There's just no chance that that thing gets implemented.
Fuck!
Unfortunately.
I'm going to do a LinkedIn post about that. I'm going to start a movement, Trevor.
I will provide support, but I think there's just no chance that that happens.
All right. That's fucking hilarious. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I know it's a shorter episode today, but I think it was poignant. Had some good spicy topics in here. But we will have that Slack channel.
The collective. Yeah, let's get a little Slack channel going. Get a little community.
See what that goes. Yeah. Sweet.
And then, in coming episodes, let's see if there's any qualified business that pulls through from some of these search queries on the agency side. Because I think, people who listen to this podcast, digital marketers, agency owners, are always curious of client acquisition. So if there's any good learnings from this and we can follow up, be curious to see how this all progresses here. I think at the very least, though, like settings off the start were extremely tight. So I think you'll have some success that'll pull through here.
Yeah, I want my money back on these shitty keywords.
Just keep analyzing those search queries nonstop today.
The fucked up part too, I don't want to go too much on a tangent. I'm trying to wrap this up, but they don't give you all your search terms. It's like all a sample.
Search queries, yeah.
It's like, what's this hidden shit? Just tell us. It's not like people putting their social security and bank account numbers in here. Give us the data. Leave it at that. I'm done. I'm angry. I gotta go.
We'll call it there. Get in the Slack channel if you feel like up in your game in the marketing space here.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
We'll call it a day. Thanks, y'all.